السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This lecture is about audiovisual translation, abbreviated as AVT. Our lecture today will discuss this kind of translation, definition, history, and characteristics. First of all, let's talk about the term itself. When we define audiovisual translation, we can say that this term used to refer to the transfer from one language to another of the verbal components contained in audiovisual works and products, feature films, television programs, theatrical plays, musicals, opera, web pages, and video games are just some examples of the vast array of audiovisual products available and that require translation. As the word suggests, audiovisuals are made to be both heard and seen simultaneously, but they are primarily meant to be seen. This is according to Sanderson. So, what about or how can we study AVT or audiovisual translation as a part of translation studies? We can say that AVT is actually one of the fastest growing areas in the field of translation studies for the time being, due to the unprecedented surge in interest in translation studies. The AVT is experiencing the expansion and consolidation as an academic discipline. So we will discuss this very important kind or type of translation as it is part of the translation profession. You can see the translation market, and one of the growing fields in this market is audiovisual translation. إذن نظرا لأهمية هذا الحقل من حقول الترجمة، علينا دراسته والتعمق فيه والاطلاع على تفاصيله النظرية والعملية فيما يخص هذا الحقل من حقول الترجمة. Okay, so why do we call it audiovisual translation? As we stated previously, that we can deal with audio and visual. We deal with hearing and vision. So we can say that there are some terms for this type of translation. For example, film translation, cinema translation. These terms were often used, but these terms were restricted because this kind of activity takes into account also other types of programs. Sitcoms, for example, documentaries, cartoons. A term that could be a good alternative to the AVT term is screen translation. Why? Because it refers to all products distributed on screen. This is according to Diaz Santas and Remel. Okay, what about the history of AVT? When we talk about the history of AVT, we talk about the beginning of cinema because it is, or both are dealing with hearing or audio visual. So we can say that the beginnings started through looking at the translated intertitles and film explainers of the silent era. You know that with the beginning of cinema, it begins with silent era. So they used, we can say that cards or between the intervals of the film in order to transfer the idea, the dialogue of the actors into the audience. And at the same time, you can say that they used these cards or these intertitles to transfer the language of the dialogue into another language for different audience. It goes on to look at the translation to sound and then at the development of subtitling and dubbing. Audiovisual translation studies has been experiencing a resurgence in interest in historical approaches since the early 2010s. Film translation was widely used in the pre-TV era before using the up-to-date term of AVT. So that's why we refer to the different terms used as alternatives for AVT. So, as we say that the history of AVT is connected to the history of cinema. So, we will begin with pre-sound era. Films here were silent, but not speechless. Mouths could be seen speaking on the screen, and title cards conveyed narration and the gist of dialogues actually or seemingly spoken by the actors. The AVT researchers have tended to write of this field on the grounds that the translation of silent film is unproblematic because you know that we don't hear the dialogue, we just see the intertitles in front of us, so we cannot compare the intertitles with the original dialogue. So there is no problem in comprehending, sorry, understanding or comprehending the dialogue because we see the intertitles only, at least by comparison with the problems which accompanied the coming of sound. Even during the silent film area, it was very important to convey to the viewers the dialogue of the actors on. The problem was solved by the now called intertitles, the predecessors of the subtitles. So here we are talking about some details about intertitles. They were text printed on paper and placed between the sequences of the film. Their first appearance was in 1903 as descriptive titles in Edwin S. Porter's Uncle Tom's Cabin. This is the name of the first film. Okay, translating such dialogues was quite easy. The original titles were removed, translated, filmed, and reinserted. Alternatively, a translator used to give a simultaneous translation to the audience. The very first subtitles first appears in 1909. In fact, MN Top registered a patent for device for the rapid showing of titles for moving pictures other than those on the film. This is uh, the definition of intertitles according to the inventor of this device. By using some kind of a slide projector, subtitles were shown on screen below the intertitles. You can say that you can see this example or this picture reflecting uh, the name of the first film. You can see that we can see only the intertitle explaining the dialogue, but we cannot see the scene, the dialogue, the actors, the background of the scene. Audiovisual translation and the transition to sound. Synchronized speech was first introduced in American films, and solutions quickly needed to be devised to successfully maintain the worldwide distribution of Hollywood product of movies and other types of media. So at that time, there was the importance of inventing or developing subtitling because you know that subtitling is a kind of AVT in order to distribute, to market the Hollywood products for other communities, for other cultures. The first talking film to be released internationally was Warner Brothers' The Jazz Singer. Although mainly a silent film with a musical soundtrack and only a few live talking scenes. It heralded the talking era and continues to be perceived as its starting point to this day. So, this was the starting point of the talking films and at the same time the beginning of AVT. So this was the beginnings of AVT. You can see that we can see the background of the scene, but at the same time, the subtitle or AVT also can be seen, but it contaminates the background, preventing the details of the or covering the details of the scene background. Later on, or we can see that we have two languages, seen or subtitled. Later on, for we can say it is another part or another kind of AVT dedicated for hearing disabled or with hearing impairment. Here we have, we don't, these are not content or not verbal content, but they are subtitled in order to transfer the details of the film to those uh, group of people suffering from hearing impairment. Okay, now we will move to the characteristics of AVT. What are the features restricted to AVT? Number one, the use of images. This type of translation differs from other types of translation since it is always shown alongside the images being broadcast. So the text needs to tie in with the image. Number two, short deadlines. In contrast with or when we compare between written translation and AVT, we can say that for the most part, translation projects have tight delivery lead times, but it goes even further in the case of audiovisual translation. For example, if episodes of a series are being shown with little time in between, there is even less time for translation and margin for error. So the short deadline is a restricted or a constraint feature in AVT. The use of specialization of different fields. Why? Because we are dealing, you know, that translator deals with different types of text, fields, specializations, but here we need another or other uh, tasks to be done by translator, such as the translator here has to work sometimes as spotter or as editor or as supervisor for for films or for subtitling. Okay, after all, audiovisual works can cover a number of different subjects: medicine, legal, IT, etc. So we say that we in translation and at the same time with subtitling, we deal with different types of materials, features, or text. 4. Speech. With this characteristic, we refer to the ability to symbolize a previously translated, natural, and spontaneous dialogue. It might sound easy, but it is not. What it is logical to one person in a certain context might seem totally out of place for another person. For that reason, a translator should be able to transfer written language to the screen without adding strange expressions or demanding an reasonable an unreasonable unnatural effort on part of the character who is speaking. Here we dealing with the speech. So the tone, the body language of the actor should be taken into account. Okay, now we think this is the end of this lecture. Later on, we will talk about the types of AVT. We will discuss the details of, for example, subtitling, dubbing, voiceover. Okay, thank you very much.